I do not do it for fame. I do not do it for you. I put myself through the pain. Time to slow.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika Zen. I am Tamika. Get on in here, y'all, okay? Get on in here. Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. You are now in the den. So, guys, this is my review recap, okay? For season 4, episodes 1 and 2 of Atlanta, okay? Yes, they are back, okay? And this is the final season, all right? Oh, Lord, I hate to see it go, okay? I hate to see it go. So one thing about Atlanta, you know that we are going to get weird. We are going to get strange. We are going to get different. We are going to get things that are in the news, things that are trending topics, memes, current events, history. It's going to be a mixture of all, you know what I'm saying, and just real life things that we can relate to and things that we can laugh at. And nobody does that like Atlanta, okay? And so, of course, they are back home in Atlanta this season, right? And that's only fitting, being as though it is the last season especially. And I know some people wasn't too crazy about the last one when they was away. I was okay with it, okay? But, we are going to go ahead and start out with this episode. And with episode number 1, we basically see that it is, the most Atlanta, okay? Ooh, child. Atlanta is the ghetto these days. I'm thinking about, moving to Miami where it is safe and leaving all my exes on read. And so there's a couple things that I felt like this episode was trying to say. I had to watch it twice. Of course, put it in the comments. Let me know your opinions and let me know if you feel like I left anything out and all that good stuff, we will discuss. But we started out with Darius, he's going in the store and people are in here taking everything off, in this store, child. They're taking everything off the racks, everything off the shelves. And Darius is just walking around like he's oblivious to it. He come in here and all he want to do is exchange this air fryer. And the guy's basically like, yo, you don't see what the heck is going on? And Darius is like, yeah, it is a little wild in here. So when he's trying to leave, is this lady in the wheelchair that's sitting saying she not letting nobody out. She not gonna let them steal. Darius is like, I'm not stealing this, okay? I was coming in here to exchange it. She talking about I'd rather die than let anybody leave. And he just rolls his eyes and walks around. When he walk around and go through the other doors, people start following behind him and going through that way too. So the next thing you know, we see them running the store and spraying her down with the fire extinguisher, right? And we know that this is basically straight out of the headlines from George Floyd protests when the lady got sprayed down with the, fire extinguisher. And at first people was feeling all sorry, saying, oh, she's in a wheelchair and this and that. But come to find out the lady had a knife on her, right? And we hear these people in this episode yelling she has a knife. So when she comes out, all she sees is Darius standing there. And Miss Karen, baby, okay, decides that she is going Karen all the way out. And she follows him through this whole episode, y'all. Okay. The next time that we see her, Darius is actually in the car with Al and they talking, okay, and he so happens to look through the mirror and he sees her coming down the damn highway. I said, now how she get on the highway, okay? He leave from there. He actually gets out the car and walks, okay, trying to get away from her, and he ends up seeing her again like by some railroad tracks. It looked like a deserted area. She busts up out of nowhere, following him down the alley. He's jumping on top of this garbage can, dumpster, and he's saying, you can't get me up here. She's basically like, well, I'm gonna wait for you. And then he jumps over that, he jumps over a fence. And so, you got some real issues, lady. And he basically was telling her, I don't know what your problem is and what Fox News been feeding you, okay, but go get help. So next we go on to Al, right? And Al is basically, listening to this music, right? And him and Darius was in the car together at this point, and he finds out that Blue Blood died, and they're basically saying like, damn, man, how did it happen? I don't know, right? But R.I.P., he was a real one, and only real G's would know him. And so at the point where, Darius had jumped out the car and left him, when Al is listening to his music, he's basically hearing about this barbecue and this zoo pie and all of this. So now when he stopped for gas, he's looking over and the barbecue is there. So he goes inside and he's asking the guy, like, I heard something about some zoo pie. I don't really know what it is. And the guy's like, okay, zoo pie coming up. He plays this CD And Alice like, this a new Blue Blood song? I don't think I ever heard this one before. The guy doesn't answer, okay? He don't say one word, so Al just sitting there waiting on his stuff. When he gets it, it's basically some Frito-Lays, looked like French fries with barbecue sauce on it or something like that, right? I said, what is this? But it didn't seem to bother Al, and he's looking at this label that's at the top of the, container when he opened it, and he's like, so is this a scavenger hunt, And he's like, is this something for Blue Blood or whatever the case may be, do you know Blue Blood? And the guy's basically like, who's Blue Blood? Okay, so I was like, okay, whatever. He pays for the food and he tells him, keep the change. And so, basically Al proceeds to go ahead and go to all the different places that is saying, right? He proceeds to go on this scavenger hunt. He's like, okay, I'm going to follow these clues. So the next thing you know, we see him go to a pool. We saw him go from the pool to a locker. We see him go from the locker to an arcade. He plays some games. He gets these tickets. He gets this shirt. He then goes and takes a picture of a code like this guy had a tattoo of on his arm, and then he goes to a laundromat where he gets 3D glasses. These was the old school 3D glasses from back in the days, child. And he sits down in the theater and he's watching this movie. He makes a whole day out of it. And we seeing that, he's stopping in between, getting something to drink, getting something to eat, whatever have you. And the next thing you know, when he leaves the movies, he goes to an area that kind of looks like a deserted mall. He's standing in the parking lot just looking, but when he gets to the building, it's not deserted, okay? When he walks in, his flowers, his balloons, and everything there. And he meets somebody named Keisha, okay, that lets her know that she's Blue Blood's wife. And he's like, so is he performing? She like, no, he dead, okay? You ain't here. And so he was like, so what is this? And she like, this is his funeral, okay? And she says, this is the way that Gary wanted. This is everything. This is how he planned it out. He did everything himself. And so, Al is introducing himself to her. He's like, oh, so his real name was Gary. And she says, yeah. And we come to find out that, Gary, a.k.a. Blue Blood, was sick for a long time. He knew that he was going to be passing away. This is something that he wanted to do. And she's saying all the hard work that he put into preparing for this service and just the hard work that he did on his last CD. And she was saying how, he gave so much and he really does not get, didn't get it back right. She said, you're only the fifth person to show up. And Al like, really? On one hand, he looked like he was a little disappointed, like, well, dag, I'm not the first. And on the other hand, he's disappointed because, the place is empty. He's the only one that's standing in there. You would think that it would probably have been, a crowd of people. And so she says, yeah, she's surprised at that too. And that's when she basically was saying, like, he put so much in to not get anything back, and that she really just wish he would have enjoyed more. He would have took out more time. He would have had more fun and, not work so hard or whatever, right? And you just got to make the best of your days. And I felt like this was a lesson for Al, especially being as though he's in the entertainment business himself. And we seen that he seemed like he was struggling with some aspects of his career and being on tour and all that different kind of stuff, right? And so I think that was something good for him to hear. And then he also let her know, he made a big impact on my life. And I think it meant a lot to have him sit there with her rather, and just show some compassion and have conversation with her and stuff like that. And so he's like, may I? And she's like, sure, go ahead. And when he go and he look at the daggone coffin, child, it's just some skeleton there with, this suit on and a hat. So she's like, oh no, that's not him, okay? He done got cremated a month ago. So even though Al is just finding out about this, he already been gone for a month and he's already, been cremated and all of that. And she also lets him know that this little plant that's on the side is for, him to go ahead and take home, right? Everybody is supposed to get one of those, and track 11 tells you how to take care of it. And Al's basically like, oh, okay, that's dope. So in the meantime, we get Earn and, Van. And they seem to be in a better place. They seem to be communicating good, hanging out, because we know, especially with Van, how we last saw her, we was getting a little worried about you, girl, okay? And so with their situation, it just seems like both of them are kind of in this loop, kind of, and they are all seeing their exes, right? Okay, it starts out with Ern seeing the ex, where she's like, "Wow, I haven't seen you in a long time," and he's like, "Hey, what's up, Kenya? Yeah, it's been long. What's going on? How you been? Oh, I'm good. I'm just here shopping." And it's like, "Oh, okay. Well, good to see you." And then when they get in the store, he basically sees another girl where it's like, well, hey, Ern, and Vanessa now at this point is like, well, damn, did you date the whole Atlanta, whatever? But he's like, no. And first of all, that was like 8 years ago. I haven't seen her in a long time, and I don't even know how she recognized me, through the daggone window. So, man, hold up, don't talk too fast, because she got an ex that's coming up to her too. And he's asking how she's doing and everything like that, and saying it's been a long time since they saw each other and they got to catch up. But he's like, wait a minute, hold on, I got a customer I got to take care of. So now when he walks away, Ern is like, wait, did he just say he haven't seen you like since a kid in concert? And she's like, yeah, he took me there, and he basically used to work in here in the AT&T store, and like I said, that was 10 years ago. So they're both kind of feeling like, what the heck is going on here? This is a coincidence. We're both bumping into exes. We're seeing people that are like 8, 9, 10 years, and it seems as if they are kind of stuck, right? They haven't moved on in their lives, and they're still in the same place, and things like that. Whereas they all, as far as Ern, Van, Darius, Al, have moved on and have done different things, been away, and are now back. And so when they're trying to leave or whatever, they're bumping into Miss Kenya again, and she's like, oh, long time no see. They like, you just saw us a little while ago, okay? So then they're like, do you know a way out? Okay, that's what we trying to find out. We've been going around in circles. She's like, no, to be honest with you, I've been in here a really, really long time. And they're like, well, what do you consider a really, really long time? They said, well, what was the last movie that was playing the last time you was here? And I believe she said, Now You See Me Too. And they was like, And then she's like, is that bad? Is that something wrong? They're like, oh, no, 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 don't worry about it, right? But they are trying to get the heck up out of here. So they basically find this exit door, right? And Ern is trying to bust through this daggone door and get them up out of there. And Van is saying, don't leave me or whatever. And he says, I would never leave you. Of course not. I'm always going to have your back, and I'm always going to hold you down. And so they try to go ahead and go through there. You hear them saying how it's dark, they can't see nothing, and all of this. And so basically they end up busting through the door. And where they bust through the door at is basically where Ern is at. So Ern is saying, I'm sorry, is basically where Al is at, standing talking to Miss Keisha, okay, at Blue Blood's funeral. So he's like, oh, Van, y'all know Blue Blood too, okay, y'all fans? And then he like, Kenya? Confused to see her, because she comes through the door behind them talking about, listen, I had to follow y'all because I was trying to get up out of there too. So, as they're walking out to leave or whatever, they say, wait a minute, is that Darius? And it's like, yeah, that is Darius. They like, yo, what's going on? He's like, nothing, yo. It's just been a weird damn day, okay? This daggone, lady in the wheelchair done been tracking him down on time today. He could exhausted from that. And so Kenya introduces herself to him because apparently they weren't familiar with each other. And she's like, well, what's with the air fryer? He was like, nothing. This was a gift. And she says, Dad, I forgot to get a gift from my father. I said, girl, I know you ain't about to go back in that mall after you done said you been, in here forever. So he basically ends up giving her the air fryer, like, well, good, you know what I'm saying? You take it, you give this to your father as a gift. And she's like, seriously? She's like, wow, thank you. And he's like, yeah, I'm tired of holding that daggone thing and dragging it around. It is, you know what I'm saying, making my arm hurt now at this point, right? And so they're leaving, and they ask her, do she want to ride? And she's basically like, no, my Uber's going to be here in about 2 minutes. And so I said, you sure you don't want to go with them, girl? Because, baby, when they drove off, honey, Karen, we was hearing her wheelchair easing on up, okay? Easing on up. I said, run, Kenya, run, okay? But that was our episode, 1 ended, child. So now we moving on along to episode 2, okay? And with episode 2, we basically had, the name of the episode was The Homeless Little Horse, okay? And this is season 4, episode 2. And this one was basically, We are grown men out here being petty. Y'all really need to go to therapy, okay? I don't, because I already know what's wrong with me. And that is real within itself, honey, okay? Yes, go to therapy. I'm a big advocate for therapy. And we know in black and brown communities, all right, a lot of people will say, I don't need to go to therapy because I already know what's wrong with me, all right? And so we started out this episode with this lady standing outside. She's smoking a cigarette. You know, this black guy that's got on the EMT uniform is passing by. You know, she mourning, smiling and looking at him and everything. And then she goes in the house and she proceeds to start looking at him from her apartment, you know, through her window into his apartment with him undressing. So now when she go and get on her laptop, she got this message that's saying, we read your novel, you know, we like the content you coming with, it's very riveting, you know, we need you to contact us, okay? So she's like, oh wow, shocked or whatever. So I'm saying, well, what is this lady gonna have to do with this story? Where are we going here, right? Because we know, you know, it was a couple times last season where sometimes the main characters was not in here and we was trying to figure out, are they going to be in the episode, and how is this person that they're showing right now going to tie in with them. So I was very curious to see where it was going. You know, we then see Earn driving, and we have Al call him up because he's trying to get into this gaming thing, and he's like, he forgot his password and is asking him for one of his old emails. And he's like, well, what email is it? You know, first Ern is like, look, I don't know. And then he's like, what email is it? And he says, AIM. He said, you mean like AOL? So he basically was like, you know, what is like the password question that's supposed to remind you. And he says, well, it's asking for my favorite movie. And he was like, Scarface? And then he says, no, as a matter of fact, this is middle school, so it would be Mulan. So Al at first was like, man, it ain't gonna be no damn Mulan. But sure enough, he puts it in and he's like, oh shit, that worked. Okay, so obviously Ern knows Al very well. Okay, and, you know, he's asking Ern what does he got going on for the day. And he's telling him, like, oh, I'm on my way to therapy, right? And he seemed like he was a little like hesitant to say it to him that he was going to therapy. And sure enough, Al starts laughing. He finds this so funny. And he's saying, oh, you're going to sit there and waste money on therapy. So, you know, Ern is just trying to hurry up and get him off the daggone phone at this point, right? And so I says, listen, I'm glad to see that they are, number one, showing therapy and how important it is. Number two, that Ern is going. And I also would like to know if Van is in this daggone therapy, honey, because like I said, we seen that she was a hot mess last season, and I really think that she could use it. But nonetheless, we see, you know, Ern gets a therapy, and apparently he been having these bad headaches. He been having chest pains. And listen, I do self-care Saturdays, and I talk about the stress and the fact that mental and physical go hand in hand. If you're physically sick, it can make you mentally sick, and vice versa. And so he's saying he's been going getting EKGs and all these different tests done, and they're like telling him there's nothing wrong with him. And he's basically saying, you know, it gotta be something, all right? Because you know, I know it's not just no daggone depression, anxiety, panic attacks. Why would it be that? You know, everything else is fine. And he was bringing up Kim Porter saying, yeah, they told her she was okay too. And we do know that that is also something that happens. Sometimes you could go in for tests and they may say, we don't see nothing, ain't nothing wrong. And then it could possibly be other things. But according to Al, everything is perfect. He got a great job. He's remodeling, you know, his apartment, his condo, or whatever. He actually have a job offer for somewhere else, so why should he be stressed? And so, you know, of course the counselor starts to ask him, like, well, what about, you know, personal life and stuff like that, right? Is everything okay there? And he was saying that he do have a little bit of anxiety and worry as far as having to leave Lottie if he did decide to take the job offer, right? And that he haven't told Van anything about it. And at first, when he gets in there, he's even still playing around on his phone. And the therapist is kind of like, look, you know, I know you're paying for this regardless, but, you know, don't you want to pay attention and talk? You shouldn't be on your cell phone. Either put it away or give it to me. So, you know, eventually he do, you know, put it away, and they start getting into it. And I liked how, you know, the therapy session was flowing, and how, you know, Ern started talking to him, because he was like, you know, I know that you gave me a little bit of, you know, what happened when you was away at school or whatever, but can you tell me, you know, a little bit deeper into it? And so Ern starts to go into the story about how he met this girl. They was cool, he thought that they were friends. They had a good relationship, and she had given him this master key for her room, right? And she basically had ended up, when he talked about this interview that he had, saying that she could get him the suit and all of this stuff, right? And so he was like, okay, cool. And so he go ahead to go to her room to get the daggone suit, because he had been calling and calling and texting and texting. And long story short, they ended up bringing up, like, basically making him feel like he did a sexual assault, a violation. It was taken to the dean. He had to be threatened with suspension, and then it went to explosion and all of this kind of stuff. And it was like he's the big black angry man. And so the therapist was very understanding to that, and he was like, did you try to go talk to anybody else? Yes, I tried. I was explaining, I was apologizing, nobody wanted to listen to me. He says, how did that make you feel? And he was like, it hurt me, because I thought we was friends, and I thought we trusted each other. And so he's like, yeah, I'm sure that hurt you in the same way as the family member that abused you. So we find out that Ern done been daggone abused, right? And he says, yes, it did. And it seemed like, that kind of made him start crying a little bit and cracking down and opening up about, everything that he was feeling. And then he proceeds to go on and say how he wanted to try to make this, change. And, Princeton had actually asked him to come in to do a speech or whatever, right? And so he was trying to be able to get out there to them to do the speech, and he figured he would make it a family vacation too, and bring Van and Lottie with him. But when they were going, it was like if it was all these signs that it wasn't meant to be, okay? They had problem after problem after problem. And most of it stemmed from this white lady that for some reason just wanted to give them a hard time, okay? Asking him for his passport, saying that the passport looked damaged. And then the counselor's like, for a domestic flight, he's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying, And he's asking for a supervisor. She's supposedly the supervisor. He asking for a second opinion. He says that lady looks like she don't want to be bothered and she don't want to get involved. So another lady, a black lady, had basically, waved Van and them over and had them getting through, had everything checked. As soon as they get to the gate, he says TSA stopped them again. So essentially, he just ended up canceling the trip and saying, I don't want to go. And they also talked about Spite, okay? Ern was saying, I like Spite. And then the counselor was saying to him, Spite could be okay, but Spite also could be a bad thing, okay, if we get too caught up into that, right? Because we can't stay stuck on things, and we can't, be petty and be worried about payback and all that other kind of stuff. We got to be able to move on with our lives. And so Ern essentially ends up telling him, like, well, right now, he feels like he missed out on a lot of time. He threw a lot of time away, and he really wants to connect with Van and Lottie. And he says that he's going to be taking some time away from therapy. I said, now, Ern, are you sure you want to do that? But the therapist was like, oh, okay, no problem. If you need me, then holler at me. I'm here for you, right? And he was like, most people do that over the phone, but Ern said, no, I wanted to come in here in person. So now as we get back to the lady Lisa, she goes in to find out about this book. They're telling her, girl, your book is going to be better than, the Bernstein Bears. Do you got somebody that's an artist that can, draw the pictures for you? She's saying, no, oh, well, we could get you that. We could get it published. We could do this. We could do that. We could do the other, right? And basically she's so happy and excited or whatever, right? And they tell her she's gonna go to read to these kids and that she needs a makeover, okay? We want them grays not showing, in your hair. So then she goes sit down all excited, and she's telling her best friend about it. And her best friend is like, because she was like, I quit my job. She said, girl, you quit your what? Like, did you get a check? Do you know that you're gonna have money? Because, girl, I can't give you no money, all right? I don't have another $500 this month. I got my own bills to pay. So she get mad at the girlfriend like, oh, you don't even believe in my writing, do you? Do you even think I can write? And she walks out. I said, okay, girl, I don't know. I wouldn't have quit my damn job, okay, until everything was done. So now when she go to read this book to the kids, these kids is like, listen, this story is whack. I don't like this story, okay? The horses look ugly. They fought, and she like, no, they not farting. The barn is on fire, and they scared, and they trying to get away and get out and all this. They didn't want to hear her. Eventually, they was like, yo, this story is whack. We don't like it, and they start getting up one by one. Now, the whole time that all of this is happening, she still steadily keeps reading. There's like one child left. You know, she fighting through her tears, and they still recording her and taking pictures. So I started thinking it was a little strange. You know, at that point, I'm like, I don't think I would have still been sitting there reading at this point. And why are y'all even still filming it if everybody's getting up and leaving? So the next thing you know, we transition and we seeing her on the TV screen. And I'm like, well, oh wow, they put this on TV like they made this a national story. But come to find out, you know, Darius and Al then enter, and we are in a bar and they're meeting up with Ern, and he's paying all these people, and he's just like, yo, you really spent all this money? You really put all this stuff out here? Like, what is this about? And come to find out that these was all hired actors. And the daggone lady Lisa was the racist lady from the airport that gave him a hard time and messed up his flight to Princeton. And this was his payback to her, okay? His spite and his petty. And so, you know, Darius was just like saying, you know, I don't know if this is extreme pettiness or extortion, okay? Because Ern was like, Al was like, are you serious? He was like, you still holding on to this and you really went out? Like, how much money did you spend on all of this, right? And he says, you know, I don't know, but it was worth it. And Al just kind of said, look, I'm going to the back. I'm going to go ahead, you know, and enjoy myself, right? And then, you know, Darius takes his sip, and that's when he was saying, yo, you bugging. And he walks to the back. So Ern ends up sitting at the bar alone. He's still sipping on his drink, and he looks up at her where, you know, she's chasing after her dog because her dog done ran out of her car, and they still filming her, and she's sitting at the car crying. And Ern looking at the TV talking about, you know. And then after he sipped his drink, he talking about some, you know, I think I really need to go back to therapy. I said, yes, Ern. What was the clue? You do need to go back to therapy. You should have never left in the first daggone place. But that basically was the episodes, guys. You know, put it in the comments. Let me know, what did you think about episode 1? What did you think about episode 2? Did you like, you know, either one of them, both of them? Okay, let's discuss. Put it in the comments, all right? Like, comment, share, subscribe. If you are so inclined, give me a wave. Let me know you came by. Put some flames up in the sky. All right, y'all. Toodaloo.